what have we got here? We have ourselves a MerCruiser outdrive that we're replacing bellows on. Okay, and I know I said a long time ago I would make this video and post about it. It was a little trick that I do with some of these things on the coolant hose that might be helpful, might not be, but it's what I do anyway, and alleviates a lot of headaches down the road. Okay, so let's get down here and get into the nitty gritty of it. Alright, we have our Alpha 1 Gen 2. Now this hose here is the cooling hose that supplies seawater to the engine to cool it. Okay, these do not have a radiator in them like a car, so the water goes in that tube, gets shoved up to the engine circulation pump circulates it through the engine, through the cylinder head, through the exhaust manifold, and then exhaust comes out there, and exhaust comes out there, and cooling water does also. So it's a complete circuit. What happens when guys go to do these bellow jobs? These hoses, this hose in particular is the one we're talking about. When you open the box, they got kind of a natural kind of curve to them, okay? And when you install this hose, you have to follow that natural curve. You can't try to fight it, or else what'll happen is when you turn this gimbal housing, oh good God, this is so freaking rough with one hand. Let's try to do it. When you turn that like that, this hose will get a kink in it. What happens if that hose gets a kink in it? You ask? Now, let me position this back up out of the way so that way we're not getting confused. You kink this hose and you just cut off your water supply to cool your engine. It'll lead to overheat problems. My boat in particular, somebody else had done bellows on it before I ever purchased the boat, and I thought, great, the bellows are done, and I take it to the lake and it's getting hot. I don't know why, because I'd done a cylinder head on it too, and it had a new water pump up on the engine put on it. So we get it home, and the gimbal was kicked to the opposing side, and then this hose was visually apparent. Let me put this down and I will show you. Oh, good Lord. The hose, you could see it from this side. Okay, you can just make it out. All right, straighten this back up. Listen and don't get stuck. So anyway, I'm peeking through that gap over here and I see that this hose is kinked in half. Not good. So to alleviate that problem, essentially you have to jerk the outdrive back off the machine, and the bell housing, you got to tear it down to this point to fix that kink. Well, it was kinked so hard that I ended up having to put a new piece of hose on it. And the other thing I did is, this is what I'm talking about here. This is basically, Jigs sells it. It's stainless steel spring that you can shove it up into heater hoses, things like that, so that you can make tight bends with them and they will not get kinked. So what I do is I usually shove up about that far, and then I'll double that amount and then cut it and shove all that stuff back up in there before I slip that bell housing back on with its clamp and tighten it down. What that will do is that will alleviate any likelihood of this hose getting kinked whenever you get into turns, or if your hose wasn't exactly on just right. It'll kind of provide, a barrier and a cushion to keep that hose, the ID of that hose, open, so that your engine gets the cooling water it deserves. So that's today's little tidbit. And as you can see around the shop, well, this is kind of cold today. I'm not walking around outside the shop, But you can see I got my work cut out for me already. So, any hooter, that's today's little tidbit. And on to the next one, or no, that's somebody else's line. Somebody else I see does that, so we're not going to use that. I'll have to think of something else. Right now I can't. So till next time, be good to each other and stay tuned.